this week's Studio Chronicles. Today I want to talk a little bit, just for a minute, about how wonderful it is to get together with other artists who kind of get it. They understand kind of what my life is about. The fact that I'm just always thinking about how to paint, what materials. I'm kind of maybe a bore to people who aren't interested in this. Family members don't get it. And these are soulmates of mine. If you don't belong to an art organization or two or three, I can't recommend it enough. And if you don't have one nearby, start one, because it's a really wonderful asset and a blessing, if I may say. So coming up today, I want to mention that I got together yesterday with a wonderful group here, Houston Art Society. They invited me to do a demo. So I did a demo yesterday, and I will do a workshop next week that employs some of the techniques that I showed in my demo yesterday. I'm also going to show you a peek into some of my sketchbooks where I have used this putting down of marks and tearing up and creating a composition into my sketchbooks. And finally, I won a door prize yesterday in the meeting of the Houston Art Society, and I'm kind of excited to show you this in my tools segment at the end of this video. I had never heard of this product before, and I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm excited to share it with you a little bit later, so stay tuned. This week I was looking at Pinterest, and it fed into my feed a composite of 4 images that were tall vertical slices of paintings that were my own paintings. And I was so startled to see these floral paintings. They looked so pretty, if I do say so myself, lined up like that. They were just little pieces of paintings. I'll show you, I'll drop it in here. And I kind of got excited about it because I hadn't really exactly considered myself a floral painter, but now that I see all of those pieces side by side, I kind of see a style. You know, we have a hard time seeing our own style. So I decided to hang a wall of my flowers, some of them. I've sold a couple of the ones that were on Pinterest, but here are some that are favorites that I haven't put on the market. So I'll show them to you right now. This is a wall beside our stairwell. It's a fairly large wall, and a couple of them are behind glass or plexiglass. So I'm going to zoom in and show you this one sort of from the side. This is a watercolor, some of my favorite colors here. And this is very much informed by some of my collages that I do in my sketchbooks. Just the mark making. This is done in acrylics, I believe, maybe some watercolor. Can't remember, I often go back and forth. This is a rather older painting, probably 5 or so years old. I did this up at the lake, up at Chautauqua Lake, from flowers that my students and friends brought in, and we would put our flowers together and then paint. A couple of abstracted florals. This one has had a whole storied life because it started out with a background of magenta on the bottom, and I decided to change the background colors, and I think it strengthened it. This is done in acrylics. It's not a new painting. It's from a still life that I set up and photographed, and I've worked from that photograph a number of times. This piece has collage paper glued down, and I don't think it started out as a floral. This was an experiment gone wrong, what I call a dog, and I resurrected it and made a floral out of it. And it's got lots and lots of texture in there. And this one finally is a watercolor that I submitted I think 2025 to the Watercolor Art Society Houston International Show, and I'm always proud to get into that show. I'm an elite signature member of that organization, but it is not easy to get into that show. And again, I'm having trouble with the reflection here, but I did want to show off my flowers. It feels really good at this time of year when there are no flowers available to put in the garden yet. It's too early. They will be in the next couple of weeks here in Houston, but at least I can have some flowers on my wall. I've discovered over the last couple of years a method where I can abstract a floral landscape that depicts the feeling that I get when I get right down face to face with the flowers and the stems and the weeds, and I love that feeling. This method takes the pressure off, creating a stiff, static looking flower arrangement, and it gives me the feeling of a puzzle when I get right down there and take a look. So I'm about to show you a peek into my sketchbooks, and maybe you'll catch on to an idea for yourself. Give it a try. The idea behind this method of working is to take just a few pieces of paper and a limited number of paints and a few tools and go out into the garden and throw down as many interesting marks as I can on a group of papers, just a variety of marks, and I come back to the studio, tear up those papers, and rearrange them in my sketchbook. So I'm going to share with you a group of collages that I've created by tearing up some marks that I made this day with a very limited palette of a yellow, a green, a purple and white, and probably some Payne's gray. I'm guessing because it's been a while. But here's the group that I created from this one day. These are bits of collage that I've glued down to abstract that day's experience. And sometimes I refer back to these sketches then when I go to create a painting. This one didn't work out really beautifully, but you know, there are some pretty colors and interesting marks. And I still, even though this didn't work out as a great composition, I still like this better than if I had agonized over depicting the exact representation of what I was looking at. This is, to me, more exciting. Okay, this next group is from another day where I went out on a very rainy day. I worked really fast and threw down some washes and some scribbles and marks that were inspired by this particular environment. I was at the bayou nearby where I live, and I remember I was working. I had the back lid up on the car and I was standing under it because it was raining and blowing, and I came up with these marks. These are scribbled bits of pencil, some markers of some kind, watercolor I think, and there's even a pattern back here that was created when the wash got too wet, and I used a paper towel and blotted this wet wash, and it created this pattern back here. So this is all, you can kind of tell these are the same outing. I created all of these papers and came back, tore them up, put them down again, and let's see here. I believe this is another outing where I used some black ink, I think, palette knife. I use fairly lightweight paper when I go out and about like this, just because it's so much easier to tear up and glue down than heavyweight watercolor paper. You can even use printer paper if you wish. So to me, you know, tearing these things up or cutting them up, this creates a lot more energy than I might have ever thought of had I sat down with one piece of paper and decided I wanted to do a painting of the landscape. I tend to get very traditional in my work if I'm sitting and just doing one painting. So this is really playing with marks, putting down impressions, trying out new ways that I might use my tools and my materials. Experimental. This gets me excited, this type of work. This one didn't turn out all that great, but yet, you know, there are some things about this that I might refer back to when I'm doing a larger painting to keep me fresh and maybe get ideas from marks or the way that some of these colors mingle. I popped some color into this one. This is really not my typical palette because I love color, and to work in neutrals like this was quite an experience for me, but yet I really kind of like it. I wish it were bigger, actually. I may end up putting this in a frame sometime because I really like this composition. Sometimes when I put a few pieces up against one another after I've ripped them up, I'll add lines, imply maybe limbs or bushes or little trees, and I pull the lines down from one piece of paper to the other to sort of connect the lines to let the eye flow from one area to another. This is going to give you a little peek into my process. This one started out like this, and it just felt, well, like it needed a little something. I like pattern, I like texture, so I tore off this piece and put it in, and that to me creates quite an exciting composition, just adding this one piece. And I left it like this just for demonstration purposes and to remind myself that, you know, you can add a little more excitement if you want to. Working that way by making marks like that, tearing them up, putting them down, really helps me loosen up, and I think you'll see in time how that affects my actual paintings. I have one here, in fact, that I pulled down off the wall so I could show it yesterday in my demo, and I have a few of these handy. This is really very much like the collages that you've seen, and this was in fact inspired by looking through my sketchbooks and seeing some lines and the way that these shapes work together and the colors work together. And it keeps me loose. It keeps me gestural in my marks. So it's an exciting way to work. Finally, I want to tell you in my tools segment that I won a door prize yesterday, and I want to share with you this unusual. This is made by Stonehenge. It's an artist panel, but it is paper put on a piece of aluminum. So it's going to be very stiff or sturdy. It says pre-mounted aluminum panel. These are small samples. I got a rectangular one and a little square one. And it's going to be fun trying these out. I think I'll go strictly watercolor just to see what the properties are. Handcrafted with the watercolorist in mind. This rugged and textured substrate is our latest creation in artisan paper. Each cold-pressed sheet naturally receives applied moisture, making it ideal for blending and lifting color. Well, we'll see. So stay tuned again, maybe next week or the following, and I'll try to give these a shot. So please remember to subscribe, and if you hit the little bell, you'll be reminded of my studio chronicles each week. And thank you for staying with me. I hope it brought you a little bit of information that you might use. Bye-bye.